Well, I'm a little bit nervous about this one, and in truth, I shouldn't be at all because it's been a dream start to our maiden Premier League season. We are unbeaten after 5 games. The tactic is working, the players are playing well, the transfer deadline day is here, and we know the problems we've got with our midfield. Yes, hello, and welcome along to part 20 of Built in Bristol with me, Daniel. We are back today to face Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp's side in the Premier League. But first of all, we've got to get through deadline day. It was well documented in the last episode, the players we had potential issues with, and at the moment, it looks like our issues may be in the long term rather than the immediate. Of course, the Liverpool game will see 2 key players on loan from them unavailable. So if you're looking forward to seeing how this episode goes and whether we can back up what has been a very promising start, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. However, we're going to start by having a little look at the transfers and the schedule because we want to see what's been going on before we got to this date. So let's start with any transfer news. So this one's nice and simple. There is nothing at the moment that is happening or has happened since the last episode. However, there is one deal that may occur today subject to something else going on, and that is Reece Norrington-Davies, who we've made a bid for from Sheffield United. We've got Cameron Pring, who wants to leave at the end of the season, and Norrington-Davies would possibly be an answer for us, but the issue is someone else has come in for him too, and Watford seem to be the favourites to sign him because we're not a big enough club apparently. So that's a potential deal for later in the day, but first we have got to have a look at the schedule because since you were last with me, well, I think this screen speaks for itself. Now, we've got to caveat it slightly because I mentioned the fact that on paper, it was a relatively friendly start. If you take aside Brighton, who finished 8th last year and got the last European spot, we're basically talking about bottom half teams across the board. What that doesn't change though, is the fact that we have done the old classic, which is win the home games and draw the away ones. That's a phenomenal start. If we can still do that after the next 2 months where we face Liverpool, Chelsea in the Cup, United, Newcastle, Arsenal, I'll probably be a bit more excited then. But for now, we've got to enjoy the points we've picked up, which could be crucial in this relegation battle. You saw the 2-0 win against Southampton where James Ward-Prowse helped us massively, and Alex Scott, of course, had a thunderous start to his Premier League career. Away at West Ham United, we started the way we finished against Southampton with a huge set-piece threat from Reece Williams. West Ham battered us in that game. They had about 4 expected goals, but Jarrod Bowen eventually got the equaliser. Against Brighton away from home, a good 2-2 draw. Alex Scott scored a screamer, unfortunately, and Seco equalised from the kickoff. And Evan Ferguson got a second equaliser after Mika Biereth had opened his account for us. At home to Palace, it was Biereth at it again. Sam Surridge also getting his first Premier League goal, and he's starting to look a bit better now after getting up to full speed. We had to put his slow start down to being out for 4 to 5 months, missing half of pre-season too, but he's back with a vengeance. He's helped us to a win there, and against Cardiff, we did exactly the same. Harry Cornick, brilliant coming into the team. We rotated almost the full 11, and then away at Brentford at the weekend, a very decent result. Sam Surridge getting the equaliser this time, but responding to falling behind, which was a very different challenge this year. And Sam Surridge in the second half did just that, him and Biereth looking very good up front. So on the pitch, fantastic. The squad we've got at the minute, I'm happy with. But going into transfer deadline day, we've got problems. Now, we're being linked with all sorts of people, and there are other people being linked with moves out. There's no problem with that. We're going to go and take part in the day. However, we've got to go back to some of the issues that we were looking at previously, which are that Hanno Masengo and also Cameron Pring, our left wing back, have both confirmed they're going to leave on a free at the end of the season. Now, with Masengo being worth about 30 million quid, I didn't really want to lose out on that money. I felt it was an opportunity for us to bring in a replacement, and while we were going to get weaker in the immediate term, with Bellingham we've got quality behind it who's going to get better, and I didn't feel we could turn down the money. Alex Scott is the one of the 3 stars who hasn't confirmed he's leaving yet. His is just he's considering the option. Now, he's the one obviously we'd most like to keep. He is finally starting to deliver, and he is, as a result, finally starting to improve off the pitch as well. But he's the one who's now got interest, and we had a promise to sell him. So my big concern here is that the one who we might have been able to keep is going to be sold and have loads of interest in him today. And worryingly, The one that we were ready to cash in on and try and replace is not getting any interest at all. And I don't really know why, because he's improving massively. He's been brilliant. I mean, he'd be a star for us. And if we could sell him with a buyback or something, it would make a massive difference for our future too. We've also got to add to that I mentioned people like Bulak were just getting on with the job last episode. Well, not anymore. He wants a new deal. He's on 22 grand a week, and at the moment he wants about 45, which, as you can see, is double anyone else because he's already the second highest earner. So for the Premier League, our wage bill's tiny, but unless we can stay up, I don't really want to commit to that next bit, and that's going to be the issue at the minute. So a few problems potentially for now, but we'll see what the rest of the day brings. We've also got the likes of Harry Darling and Cornick throwing their toys out the pram, so we might get offers for them during the day, and a few of the backup players you can see wanted elsewhere. So we're keeping an eye on people we might be able to sign, potential replacements if things go right or wrong. But for now, it's basically going to be a reactive day. I'm happy with the squad we've got, but it's sort of out of our hands as to whether we're going to have to change things. So at this point, I'd almost be happy just to hang on to the squad. If we're not going to get an offer for Masengo, I'd rather keep the others anyway. So let's go and head into the 15 hours remaining and see what deadline day brings for Premier League Bristol City. Well, we're just an hour in, and we've already got our first offer of the day, which takes away a few worries for me because it's for Hanno Masengo. Now, we know 20% of this sell-on fee is going to AS Monaco, but we've got to be quite clever here because the player is suggesting that he wants to make this move to Brentford. Now, we might not get quite as much money as we'd like, but they've been a bottom half team. There is a risk they could go down. And if the player's got a relegation release clause, if we've got a buyback clause, whatever it might be, we've got an opportunity to potentially get this player back by the end of the save. They've already been kind enough to include a percentage of profit sell-on, which I want to change to a standard sell-on clause. And we're going to try and get up towards the price that is not quite his full value, as you can see, but we agreed earlier in the summer that we'd sell him for 26.5 million. We can get that with a sell-on and maybe with a buyback. I think we're in business. Well, I didn't want to bore you with my negotiations because those that have watched my streams and that, although I like to do them long term, but they've not negotiated much here, and now we've got a big decision to make because if we sell Masengo to Brentford here, we're only going to get 70 million quid. They have not budged on the fee at all, despite me trying. However, what they have budged on, and something that could be worth more than the initial transfer fee if things go well, is a 50% sell-on. Now, I'm picturing this in the most ambitious way possible. He goes to Brentford. Brentford go down. He's got a relegation release clause and we stay up. We then sign Masengo back for anywhere up to 33 million. And we then get 50% of the sell-on, which then means we'll have sold him for 33 million and signed him back for the same. So it could be a good deal for the future, and I don't feel I have a choice but to accept it. Yes, 17 million is not a great fee in the grand scheme of staying in the Premier League, but could we find one more to become a superstar? I'm starting to wonder, so I'm going to accept it. I think the 50% sell-on makes a difference. 20% of that goes to Monaco, so it's essentially a 40%. But it's still a really good deal for me to get that because he's only 23, it'll likely be sold again. Maybe it will be back to us if my chain of events works out. So we're now going to have to go looking for a midfielder because we are a little bit short. We have been looking for people who are available on loan, but of course we've used up our Premier League slots, so we'd have to get people from abroad. And while we have been looking at good midfield options, I'm not sure there's many that are willing to join us within our wage structure. The only one who potentially is Karim Damani, who is currently at Feyenoord at Togolese International. Now, he falls into a similar category to Bellingham where he's nowhere near ready yet. He's not a first team ready player. His 3-star ability is at championship level, but he has got massive potential for the future and his wage demands are not as big. I think the last time we talked to him it had gone down a little, but I'm going to make an offer for him and see how it goes. And we're also going to have a look through the scout reports and see if there's any surprises. So we'll be back in a minute if this one's done and potentially with 1 or 2 gems unearthed down that scout report list. Well, we've had our offer accepted and we've offered a contract to the Feyenoord guy for 10.5 million. But what we've got to bear in mind is if we want to get Norrington Davis as well, especially with Masengo now only going for 16 million, is that with 5 million remaining in our budget, we need to probably find someone with a cheaper transfer fee. And I think trawling through the scout reports, this might be my guy. He is an Argentinian 21-year-old who we don't know everything about, but I'm going to go and scout further while we're doing the offer and that. He's on a low wage and I feel we can get him for less than 5 million. So let's go in initially at the bottom end, get rid of these percentage of sell-ons because this guy could be a brilliant signing and a very good find. Let's suggest those terms. They want 8.75. So if we're splitting a difference, it's just the top end, isn't it? So 4.8 million rather than 10.5 for Damani. The year older, he's probably a bit more suited to that Masengo role. So let's see if we can get him in. We're here after 4 hours is our big first bit of news of the day. One of the homegrown players at the club in terms of qualification rules for the Premier League is leaving the club. But we were going to lose him for free next summer. Now we're getting 17 million and a huge sell-on, which will work out at 40% after Monaco take their cut. So we say goodbye to Hanno Masengo, who is possibly the best player at the club at the minute. A very good footballer, had a great start to the season. Maybe Brentford go down and we can get him back if we survive. We'll wait and see. Well, now we've got a decision to make because our transfer budget is 18 million. That will not cover Damani and Miramon. Do we gamble on Miramon joining? Because Damani at the minute, we have to accept or decline. And I don't know that he's the right fit for this team at the minute. A really good young player, and I'd love to have the luxury of bringing him in and letting him develop, but I don't think we can spend that money on him at the minute. I'm going to cancel that deal. I'm going to accept the one for Reece Norrington-Davies because that is an important signing for us, having that depth on the left, and more importantly, having a replacement for Cameron Pring, who will probably leave on a free next summer. Norrington-Davies does that, a solid squad player. It does leave enough money for Miramon. Let's cross our fingers that he accepts, because otherwise, we're in big trouble. Well, it's party time at Bristol City, because we are still only 4 hours into the day. It is midday, between 12 and 1 o'clock, and we are finishing our transfer work for the day, because firstly, Reece Norrington-Davies is in. He will be a wing-back on support, and of course, he is going to be trained at that whilst being registered for the squad. But more importantly, it's Hanno Masengo out, and it is Ignacio Miramon in. 4.8 million is the transfer fee. 27 grand a week the wage, which is the highest at the club, but still sustainable. He's got a 29 million release clause for Champions League clubs, but it expires cannily just 1 day before the summer transfer window next year. So as long as we get through January, we'll be able to keep him. And we have had to do the Victor Orta and say if we go down, he can go for 7.5 million, but that's still a profit on what we signed him for. Cross your fingers and hope we've got lucky here. Let's accept the deal. Let's go and meet him and hopefully say goodbye to deadline day early. Well, on first impressions here, I think it's pretty fair to say we've nailed this. We're going to send him on a language course. We're going to get Williams to welcome him. But Ignacio Miramon is 3.5 star ability with 4.5 potential. What is your best midfield role? Box to box is one of them. Let's have a look at your attributes. Oh, they're very similar. Very similar players and very similar ability. He's probably one attribute point behind Masengo on a few things, but for the money we've paid for what, a quarter of the fee that we sold Masengo for, that's a brilliant deal. I'm really happy with that. And Ignacio Miramon, our wildcard signing of deadline day, alongside Reece Norrington-Davies. That is a good day. Now we can have a quiet rest of the day. The only person who might potentially leave from the first team is Harry Darling, who's throwing his toys out the pram. And of course, we've got to be wary of offers for Alex Scott. But at the moment, there's no sign of them. So I'm not going to panic just yet. Surprise! 2 hours to go and I've got a little deal for you. We found a loan offer, which actually was a player who was suggested from a media report. We'd not been linked with him. We hadn't scouted him. And we got a question from the media saying, are you going to sign this guy? You've been linked with him all window. Not sure we had because the club hadn't even looked at him. But Andre Almeida is at Valencia. He's on 9 grand a week and he's transfer listed. Now, we've managed to agree a deal to bring him in on loan for 60% of his wages and with an optional future fee but no obligation. So essentially, for about 250 grand, we've got this lad on loan for the season who just adds a bit of depth in case of any problems. Now, I'm not expecting him to be a regular and he may well end up rotting, but it definitely seemed a deal that was too good to refuse given the quality of the player. And the initial scout report suggests that maybe he is pretty good. So let's go and get that deal done. A little bonus to finish off the day. I should mention as well, there have been a few little things since you were last here. Mainly youngsters, to be honest. Callum Wood is the only one who's actually left, but we had offers for 2 or 3. He's gone to Bath, who are our affiliate club. So no further deals. It will be 3 in on deadline day. 1 massive out, of course, but overall, a very good day. We've got 3 players in for less money than we got for Noah Masengo. Got to be pleased with that. Well, I tell you what, this kid might not end up rotting because Andre Almeida, according to our coaches, is 3.5-star ability with 4-star potential. Now, I'm going to go and get him registered in the squad. Miramon is under 21, so doesn't have to be. We've got no problems at all on that front, and we're very happy to welcome him to the club. And he's pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a standout, but if we need to chase a game and maybe bring on a more attacking midfielder, we can go for him as a number 10 option. He can play a little bit off the left as well. I'm really pleased with that. Andre Almeida completes a very good deadline day. And between him and Miramon, that's a great replacement for Masengo. Well, there it is, the end of transfer deadline day, and possibly with it, the most important news of this whole window. No offer on deadline day for Alex Scott. I don't think any of the windows are still open. He was wanted by Marseille. They must have an hour at most. So really happy to keep him. Now starts a 4-month mission to convince him not to change to leaving on a free. Because if he stays with us, we've got real potential for the future. Given the apprehension I had going into today, I couldn't be more pleased with where we are. The window overall had been very good prior to that, and our start to the season miraculous. We've had Noah Masengo leaving not just for 17 million, with that 50% sell-on clause as well, which we'll get the majority of. But then to bring in Reece Norrington Davis, who is a big upgrade on both, well, Harry Darling and Cal Naismith. To bring in Andre Almeida as that little bonus on loan. And what a fine Miramon is as the replacement for Masengo. Could not be more thrilled. I mean, our wage budget is less than half of the next lowest team in the division. But a finish to the window, given what I was expecting, I'm overjoyed at. Now we've got our first massive test on paper, which is a home game against Liverpool. They have been flying and we're without 2 key defenders that have been on loan from them. So let's skip ahead through the international break, hope we avoid injuries and see how we get on against them. Back in a minute for the big game. Well then, after all the excitement of our start to the season and probably the relief mainly of deadline day, we are now back with the first Friday night game after the international break at home to Liverpool. I was going to complain about that because we'll have a few players on international duty, but in truth, probably harms our visitors a lot more. And we know we've got the super tactic. So we're going to go and pick probably a very similar team to our last game. I don't know that any of the new boys are going to break in yet. Maybe Miramon will get a start. We'll go and pick our 11. We'll be back in a minute to run through it as an almost sold out Ashton Gate prepares for the visit of a giant. Well, here we go then, and it's very clear to me that we've got one immediate worry, which is defence. Of course, 2 of our normal back 3 would be Bajcetic and Williams, both on loan from Liverpool and can't play today. We've got Sheld as the left centre-half who's been playing for Norway and is not quite fit. We've got 3 players missing out on a squad who aren't fit at all. Coventry, Parrott and Norrington Davis, so that stops the latter from getting his debut. Almeida is on the bench though, and Miramon is in from the start. The men into defence are Montero, which was pretty predictable, and Ted and Mengi have gone for pace back there. He is the player who's probably best in that cover role, maybe other than Harry Darling, who's currently throwing his toys out the pram. So that means our 11 in full is Nathan Baxter in goal. We've got Montero, Held, and of course Mengi, the 3 centre-halves. Bulat, Pring and Bree, the defensive midfield 3, including 2 as wing-backs of course. Miramon, the new boy, in for a debut alongside the stay-in Alex Scott. He's now ended his unhappiness about not being able to go because we didn't get the offer, but he's still exploring options, so we can't offer him a deal or anything just yet. Sturridge is getting going up front. He's alongside Bieref, who's also got a couple of goals already. And on the bench, we have got quality. We've got a bit of depth if we need it, and even the option to move the likes of Brian Pring into centre-half if we have a real disaster. But let's just go and get into it. It is Bristol City v Liverpool. His tactic has not failed us in the league so far, but tonight it is an incredibly big ask. Well, here it is, and you can see Liverpool probably taking the option you'd see in real life. The two South Americans on the bench after the internationals. In fact, one of them's not in the squad, but Nunes is among the subs. The likes of Gakpo, Asensio, who they've signed, Declan Rice, Agate, Salah. I mean, it's not a bad team, is it? They've got a lot of good players in there. Let's go and get through the dressing room. We've got nothing to lose. I might even say play with no pressure, but no, we've got nothing to lose. I don't know why the nerves are there. We're going to talk to the defenders. I trust you to make a difference, or there's no pressure. No, there's no pressure on you tonight. Relax and enjoy it. Bulat and Held still a little bit nervy. Let's get into the first half and see what happens on the scoreline front. Well, as we get the first highlight just 3 minutes in, I would fully expect the run of winning at home and drawing away to end tonight. I do not expect us to get anything, but I guess the question is, can we be competitive? As Bulat is fighting for the ball in a holding role. Falls for Robertson on the left, and you can see Liverpool 4 or 5 in there. James Bredo fighting hard. Robertson still comes out with possession. Back to Cody Gakpo. And I think we're getting a taste of the real world tonight. For the first time, we are playing one of the top 6 clubs. And at the moment, they are tearing us apart. It only took 5 minutes for the goal. Now let's see if we can respond. But of course, against teams other than Liverpool, we will have most of our defence available. And here is a Liverpool free kick. 20 minutes on the clock. It's a good position for Asensio. We know the walls are broken from this angle. And there you go. Please, please FM24. It's the only thing I ask. Just fix the walls from the outswinging free kicks. Please let it cover the near post. I beg of you. It's 2-0 to Liverpool. It's game over. I mean, this is a night for the fans more than it is for us as a football team. We're not trying to get points out of this because we know realistically it's not possible. If you take into account that they're one of the top 6 clubs and the fact that 2/3 of our defence is on loan from them, it probably is the toughest game we'll have all season, Liverpool. So we've got to bear in mind that as we worry about the defensive display. But defensively, we are competing as well as we can with what is essentially a championship team. And the 3 centre-halves, all new to the club, none of them over 22. As Asensio gets in, oh my, that's going to be 3 because it looks like it's onside to me. VAR will check it. I'm not confident. The goal review is disallowed. We get away with one. Half an hour gone. It's still just 2-0. And there's the big cheer from the home fans. Well, 5 minutes to the break, and this time it's Salah and Alexander-Arnold causing chaos down the right, with support from Henderson and Agate. Through to Declan Rice, who's very advanced here. Into Gakpo, it's a great ball for Robertson. Beats Breed to it, into Declan Rice. Off the woodwork, Baxter and Mengi clear. No idea what's going on back there. You know you can use your hands, Nathan, right? Just ignored it and punted it out for a throw. I think we might get to half-time at 2, which is fortunate. It's been all Liverpool. But we're competing in the Premier League. And with the other 5 results, these sorts of games don't then define our season. So we're going to get through it. It's a great experience for the young lads. We'll keep an eye on the wing-backs who are both on yellow cards. We'll try and give a chance to the likes of Bellingham to get some football. And maybe a debut to Almeida as well. As with an hour gone, there's no sign of change. So Miramon not having the best debut in the world. Joby Bellingham can come on for him. I'm also going to take off Sheld at left centre-half, who's really struggling. He's going to be replaced by probably Cal Naismith. And then I'm going to bring on Tanner for Bree at right wing-back for now. We'll give it 5 more, then we'll make a couple more changes. But it's just about keeping competitive. And now, avoiding injuries and suspensions, which are both a concern. We've got Surridge struggling a little bit up front as well. So, not quite sure what to do tactically here. We'll see as Pring chases. Do not commit a foul. Back to the edge of the box, that's a penalty. Who made that tackle? Was it Naismith? Oh, it was as well. Not quite good enough for the Premier League. Our 6th choice centre-half is on the pitch. In fact, it is our full backup defence, isn't it? And that showed. This one was a player that we replaced in the Championship because he wasn't good enough there. And he's given Mo Salah the chance from the spot. It is 3-0 to Liverpool. And now we can take away that worry from Cameron Pring. We'll replace him with... Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring on Almeida. I'm going to put Tanner to the left. I'm going to bring Alex Scott out to right wing back where he can apparently play. And we'll go for Bellingham and Almeida in the middle. Then up front, I'm going to bring on Harry Cornick for a tired looking Surridge. Pierre will switch sides. And Cornick gets a run out in the Premier League, which he thoroughly deserves. 3-0 to score. There's just under 20 minutes to go and Liverpool are on the front foot again. The worry for me now is that this could get out of hand and ruin the morale we've built up this season. We came up with momentum from finishing the season well. We did really well for the first 5 games. But when we're playing a top test, we look in trouble. And to be fair, we've been battered like this in a couple of the games. West Ham probably gave us more of a pasting. It's just that they weren't as ruthless in front of goal. Here though, Liverpool have got 11 players in our half and they're having a lovely time. As Joe Gomez gets it on the right to Canate. Into Fabinho, Bellingham heads away. Bieref into Almeida. Can we nick a goal? Give the fans something to cheer. Out wide to Scott, who's playing at right wing back now. Never done that for us before, but he beats his man. Chance to create something. The cross is blocked to Almeida. On debut to George Tanner. Great save from Alisson. Almost a moment we could have enjoyed. 5 minutes to go. George Tanner is probably not the man we wanted that to fall to. But a really good move from Bristol City. And maybe now, I know that Liverpool are resting people. They're probably not at full tilt. But nice to have a bit of an attacking spell as Bieref gets in and fires over. We head into 3 minutes of stoppage time. It's 3-0. It's a comfortable win for Liverpool. But these are the sorts of days that show us where we've got to get to. We've not got many years to do it. But you know what? The fact they're unhappy about that when I'm saying you've done all right, lads. That probably tells me there's a good mentality here. You look at Ted and Mengi with a 6.1 rating. Naismith came on and gave away the pen. Not having Bajcetic and Williams makes a big difference. I'll be interested to see in the next episode. We'll make sure we play another one of the top boys, but we'll have those two available. And I want to see what difference it makes. But without Masengo, with a debutant out the way, I think we've got to be pretty happy with that. Let's go and have a look at the schedule, because overall, this game was not something I was worried about the result from. Deadline day I was nervy about, and I feel relief from that. If you have a look at what's coming up the next couple of months though, there's probably not a lot of relief to be had because we have got to play Chelsea in the Cup now. We've also got back-to-back games against United, Newcastle and Arsenal in October. And we finish November after the international break with Chelsea and Manchester City. Those are the 2 games that will be the focus of our next episode. It's a great opportunity to show 2 of the big boys, get a few games under our belt in between now and then, and see whether Bajcetic and Williams make a difference to this team. If you're looking forward to finding out if they do, and how the new players settle in from deadline day, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Give me your ratings for my transfer window overall, because I've got to say, I'm absolutely thrilled with it. And if we can somehow convince Alex Scott to stay, I think we've worked a miracle. If you agree, let me know in the comments and predict where you think we're going to finish now we've got our squad together. We looked pretty good at home to Southampton last episode, but against the top sides, I don't think we're getting many points. If you want to stay up to date and find out if we do, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We'll be back here early next week to play 2 more of the Big 6 in our maiden Premier League season. But between now and then, we'll have something special tomorrow for Sunday, and Monday it comes down to Distillery. Our Build a Nation save is hotting up. And if you didn't see yesterday's episode, there's been some big signings this summer, both for us and for the rest of the nation. You can find that playlist in the eye above with the Twitch channel, where we'll be live tomorrow morning as always. And of course, the football podcast for Championship and Premier League predictions every single match day. Come and play along over there if you haven't before. And I'll see you back here in a couple of days' time for more big action from the Premier League.